And we are live. Hi, guys and girls. Gallifrey97 here. Welcome to today's live stream where we're doing a double review of two episodes from Series 11, Episode 6, Demons of the Punjab, and Episode 7, titled Kerblam. I'm joined by the ever so brilliant guys that join me every week. I've got Adam Ultimate Hoovian. Say hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Hopefully good. And also joined by the brilliant Philip Hawkins.
Hi, everyone.
Also have you back. So yeah, we are going to be going through both episodes back to back. But first of all, we're going to cover the recent news whilst we've been off air of the New Year's news. We're not getting Christmas special this year. I said I did a video on it, but really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on the move to New Year's Day. With Philip, what do you think of the move?
I really like sitting down on Christmas Day and watching Doctor Who, and I really like having that Doctor Who Christmas special. But see, the reasons they have given, or the reasons that have been, I don't know if the reasons they've given, but the reasons that have been proposed out there have been that they couldn't come up with any more Christmas ideas, which to me doesn't matter. I don't think the Christmas special on Christmas Day has to be about, the plot doesn't have to be about Christmas. So I almost feel that whatever they've come up with for New Year's Day, unless the plot is very much about New Year's Day, anything else, they could have just shown it on Christmas Day and it would have been fine. It doesn't have to be, you know, about Santa Claus or about Christmas. It would have been fine. And yeah, I don't think they necessarily needed to move it, personally.
Yeah, I'd say, like you said, when they said that in the report, I was thinking, well, I wouldn't think that because obviously there's a new team coming in, so they come with like new ideas. So, but also, like you say, recent years, and especially, it's just been a kind of background thing. Like I said, the stories have been just their own thing. So, yeah, no, I say it will be missed, but I'm quite interested to see if it is specifically a New Year's Day special, how they do that. What about you, Adam?
Yes, I'm not too disheartened, to be perfectly honest. I'm not too disheartened, to be honest. I mean, I think if we were to have a Christmas special, it'd have to be whimsical, it'd have to be light. Like, one of the specials that I'd kind of like is like a creepy haunted house kind of story. Sort of like The Abominable Bride, sort of that kind of vibe, that kind of tone. But I know, like, I think Moffat, who's kind of more fairy tale look on Doctor Who, has sort of made it a bit more light and a bit more pompous, as did kind of Russell when he sort of started them out. So maybe Chibnall, maybe for New Year's Day special, I kind of imagine it could be a little darker, perhaps. Like, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a story that has to be light or, you know, so happy-go-lucky. So maybe he sort of had an idea for a special that wasn't necessarily light or pompous. So, but that I'm totally cool with. If it's sort of, if he wants to tell the story he wants to tell, and, you know, sort of not necessarily broadcasting Christmas Day, then it's totally cool. It has become, it's weird that it's taken us to this point, really, to like past 10 years of it happening, and now we're not getting it. I think the thing that annoys me is we basically got Twice Upon a Time, because that's the thing, we would have thought they're keeping that slot for that, because the Doctor Falls was originally going to be the ending for Capaldi Zero, but he sort of had to rewrite the ending and then have that be the end, just so Chibnall can have the slot going forward. So it's a bit strange they didn't really, you know, think this through. Like, you know, they think, oh, are we even going to keep the Christmas slot afterwards? It's a bit, you know. But if Chibnall, you know, if he wants to tell the story on New Year's Day and he's got an idea for it, then yeah, that's cool. It's gonna be strange, I guess, like first Christmas Day without it, but really, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We'll get there in the end. Yeah, it kind of goes in line with what series have done, sort of trying to break traditions. But yeah, like you said, I don't know what we'll be doing Christmas Day. Like, it's been such a part of our lives for over the past how many years, like over the last decade, of course. But yeah, so yeah, I say I'm quite open to it, but I think I'm more down to like the sort of traditional, like just having Doctor on Christmas Day. Like, it'd be weird what I'll be doing in that time slot when it's not on. So we've got a few comments. There is a few people watching, which is great. But yeah, we will crack on with our first review of this double feature. Start with episode 6, titled "Demons of the Punjab." And the synopsis for the story reads as follows. With Yaz desperate to learn more about the life of her grandmother, the first Doom Doctor brings her friends to the Punjab in 1947 to meet her in the past. But with a marriage unknown to Yaz on the cards and the partition of India threatening to pull her family apart, it may not be the mysterious demons that are the biggest threat. So yeah, before going into this episode, obviously the sort of precedent was set with Rosa, which was an amazing historical story, one of the great episodes of series 11 so far. And I feel to us this did follow in that same light. But yeah, opening thoughts. Start with you, Adam.
Yes, Demons of the Punjab. Yeah. I went in. I thought Rosa was really good. I sort of set my bar high because the historicals were, that seemed to be the strength of this series. And I came away from Demons of the Punjab adoring like every moment of watching it. I thought it was engaging. The performances were very strong. It, yeah, I enjoyed being in this setting, and it was a blast. One of the sort of distinctive memories looking back of me watching it live was I was literally, when the Doctor came back saying, "Oh, the Vajarians, they weren't the villains." I was just like, from like the third act, I was on the edge of my seat just to see how this was all going to unfold and everything. And I don't feel like I've felt like with Doctor Who for quite a while, like literally being on the edge of my seat to see how it was all going to unfold. And it was really cool. All round, I really dug this episode.
Amazing. That's really positive to hear. What were you, Philip?
Yeah, I think very much the same. The historicals have been the standout so far of this series. So I'm looking forward to seeing what tonight brings and if that keeps it up. But yeah, I think, as Adam's saying, Rosa was amazing. I think this was amazing. I think what I really like is that it's kind of, I've been kind of hoping that they would do a pure historical, and these seem to be edging closer towards it while not quite doing it yet. So you had, like, in Rosa, there was a sci-fi element that was the bad guy. You had the time traveling bad guy. This one, they've got aliens there, but they're not really influencing the plots at all, like Krasko was in the first one. So it's kind of like they're edging towards a pure historical, and then maybe they're just getting us used to the idea gradually. So it'd be interesting to see if they go pure historical for tonight's episode, or if they maybe want to skirt the edge of it again. I'm not sure. I don't recall seeing anything in the synopsis or the pictures that would indicate anything that isn't pure historical. But then again, not, we didn't necessarily know in the other ones as well. So yeah, I'm really liking that. And I thought the performances were all strong. It was good to see Yaz doing a bit more for once. And yeah, it was an interesting story. And much like with Rosa, I learned a bit more, which is good. It did educational in a good way, rather than a let's stop the plot and give you a lecture for 5 minutes like the Saranga conundrum did with the sciencey bit. So yeah, all around pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff. Yeah, as I say, this episode was kind of, obviously, before going in, we knew this was kind of going to be Yaz focused. I don't think the characters so far kind of had been given that kind of limelight, but this episode sort of delivered on that, I feel. And of course, obviously, learn about the Indian partition, which again is great job to say, like Philip says. It doesn't sort of take to stop the whole of the plot to explain it. And I didn't know much about it. And I with Rosa, I kind of sort of did research beforehand. But this time I thought, no, I'm going to sort of let Doctor do the talking. But I was really watching the behind the scenes stuff with the writer, and he was saying like he didn't want to get into like the politics of it all, just showing how real people were affected by this terrible event. But yes, more on all that stuff later. But starting off with the first bit of the episode, and obviously one of the key themes throughout was the relationship between Yaz and her grandmother. what do you guys think of that relationship from sort of start to beginning? Starting with you, Adam.
Yeah, it was a lovely relationship, and I think the watch being like a massive sort of integral part of that whole story, and Yaz trying to piece together, oh wait, that some things don't add up, and yeah, trying to backtrack. Yeah, it was great, and them going back to see the young Umbreen. I think the actress who played her was really good, and they had a great dynamic. I think throughout it was the most. I think it was probably one of those engaged dynamics, and that whole thing of family as well with Yasmin's conversation with Graham. That was like a lovely touch, because I feel like Graham is the kind of course the granddad of Ryan, but also like he's such a he's really come down. I think as a grandfather figure to also Yasmin as well. It's quite a nice sort of heartwarming unit that the TARDIS team are, and in the mix with her stuff with the younger grandmother was all really good. Bless you. Yeah, it was really bittersweet. It was the heart of the story, and it was done really well.
Yeah, it was obviously the start of it, obviously with sort of started as a kind of similar to Father's Day, the series 1 story with Rose and Ninth Doctor, where you kind of get a glimpse of that story, but there's obviously the companion wants to find out more, and as like Yaz simply puts it, like why wouldn't you if you're a mate with a time machine? Yeah, what were your thoughts on the relationship between the grandmother and Yaz, Philip?
Yeah, I think it was lovely. I think the actress, I'm not sure of her name, that played the grandmother did a great job, and yeah, it felt like a genuine relationship. And like you said, if your nan gives you a broken watch and refuses to tell you anything about it, and you've got to make with a time machine, you'd take advantage of that. And I quite liked that as well. And I liked seeing the sort of the differences between the old grandmother and the young grandmother that we saw when they went back in time, and you could see bits of the personality that were the same and bits that had obviously changed over time as well. So yeah, it was nice, and good to get a bit more of Yaz's family. I think I'm not the first person to say this by any means, that it would have been nice if the grandmother had been in the Arachnids episode, just somewhere, maybe one scene, maybe she'd come around for lunch at the end just to introduce her and sort of seed that in. But obviously that adds to budget. You have to then hire another actor, so maybe they do that. But that would have been nice to do. But overall, yeah, I like the relationship.
I absolutely agree with. I think that would have been cool, just to establish her a little earlier, and then have like an episode about her later. What I quite liked was the fact that Umbreen in the episode says, I randomly point to a map, and wherever I go, that's what I ever do, that's where I go. And she pointed to Sheffield, and that was kind of a nice way of sort of really bringing it home. Because of all places, why would you run to Sheffield? And then it kind of had a lovely backstory behind it. It was really nice.
Yeah, it's a nice Easter egg. Like I said, I think the actress who played Yaz's grandmother in present time, I believe, was in Unicorn the Wasp. I think she was the servant. I think it's when the statue fell and hit her on the head in the episode. I can't remember the character's name, but I think that was her. Like in the episode, apparently, yeah, I've heard from. So
that's the second Unicorn and the Wasp link we've had in 2 weeks. Then
yeah. Yeah, Cho must be a fan of Unicorn, which is great. Yeah, going on to our sort of main cast, going on to the Doctor this week, which, I think she had a really great moment with the villains, sort of standing up to them when she's obviously assumes that they are assassins, the Fajarians. I think she had this great moment when she was sort of standing up to them, which kind of had that sort of real Doctory moment, which I kind of felt she'd been missing up to now. That kind of fiery, kind of like, I'm protecting everybody, I'm the Doctor, etc. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the Doctor's episode? Was there anything that stood out for you? Start with Philip.
Yeah, that moment where she stood up to him and she sort of had a little mini speech, didn't she, towards them, and did the kind of, you know, now I suppose stereotypical, but the thing the Doctor does where he goes that I'm protecting this planet, or she goes, I'm protecting this planet. So that bit was nice. I think I liked, you know, when she was officiating the wedding, that was quite sweet as well. Yeah, she's I think generally that moment you mentioned is the closest. I feel with the Doctor so far, with Joe Whittaker's Doctor, I think she's absolutely fine, and I quite enjoy her portrayal, but I don't think she's had any like standout moments yet, and that's probably the closest she's come to it. But it still wasn't quite there. It's just she needs something, and it's fine to not have it this early because, you know, Capaldi didn't really have one major one till his second series, and, you know, often some of the Doctors don't for a series or two. But it would be nice to have that sort of really go, oh yes, moments, that sort of really standout moment. And she hasn't quite had that yet, but that was the closest I think she's got to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I say hopefully, like I said, it's kind of there, but it's not quite there, isn't it? It's I think hope maybe they're leading it into the finale where it kind of fully realizes. But I say when she makes these comments as well about kind of like, oh, this is new, like I'm not sure about this. Like I feel like a Doctor's kind of still cooking in a sense. Like, so it'd be interesting to see by the end of the series what point she's got to. Yeah, what about you, Adam? Was there any highlights for you for the 13th Doctor's episode?
Yeah, there was quite a few actually. I liked when she went back to the Vajarians. She sort of did like the hand gesture that they do as sort of a symbol of respect, which I thought was a really nice touch. I even didn't mind the line. It would be a line that I'd be kind of unnerved by, where she was talking about, oh, my something about gender regeneration and all that is all in jest or something along those lines. And the line where she said, oh, I didn't do this when I was a man. I thought, oh, I don't know if it didn't like teeter on the edge of being a bit a tad cringy, which is really good. And her, as you say, officiating the wedding was really nice. She had a good balance, and she does the whole, "Oh, you're treading on your own history, be careful" kind of thing. I think she did very well in this episode. Definitely, this was the one where I thought she really played the range of emotions. And yeah, she did. Jodie did really well. Yes.
There was one moment rewatching it yesterday, which kind of niggled me. Was I say it kind of been a theme with the Sonic. But when Philip mentioned, oh, she does officiate the wedding. The scene with the rope, and she gets the Sonic to lift it up. And I was thinking, why don't you just use your hands? It's kind of had this running theme of like the overuse of the Sonic this series. But yeah, just a moment I thought.
And if the Sonic doesn't work on wood, does it? Why does it work on rope? They, you know, they're both plant material.
There you go, plot hole for you to resolve, Chibnall. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, going to the TARDIS team now. I think obviously this episode was mainly focused on Yaz. And I think she did get her time to shine. We kind of got a bit more to know about her, but I still don't think she's been fully utilised, to be honest. But I think this episode did a great job of getting to understand a bit more about Yaz. I say Graham had two amazing scenes. One with, of course, Yaz, as Adam mentioned, about himself going like, "Look what we're doing. This is like amazing." And of course, when he's comforting Prem, when he's about to get married, that was like a real emotional scene. I don't know if there's any moments with Ryan this episode, but I say he has been quite a main focus for the majority of the stories. Yeah, what about you guys? Start with Adam. If you had any highlights or best moments for the TARDIS team?
I quite like Ryan team up with the Doctor. I think it's quite nice to see the Doctor take a shine to Ryan, because it does seem to be like the Doctor, Yaz, and Ryan and Graham kind of thing, with the fact that Ryan and Graham are related, so they kind of have their own thing, and then it's kind of the Doctor and Yaz. But it's quite nice to see Ryan join the Doctor that little bit, whilst Yasmin and Graham join the family. Graham speak when Graham. I love the bit with Graham because Graham knows that Prem is about to die. All we strive to be is good men. It's a lovely quote, and the Bradley Walsh hug was just. It was heartwarming to see because Bradley he was sensational, absolutely, and Yasmin very much. It's a debate whether people say, oh, this is Yasmin's episode, maybe she didn't do as much or whatever, but. I think she was the force that says no. I need to. The fact that when the Doctor comes back, when she finds out about the truth and everything, that Yasmin's like, no, I want to stay. She's very determined to stay and be there and try. And so I think, in a way, Yasmin. I think this was definitely Yasmin's episode. I think this was definitely an episode that did her character justice. Apart from that, I'm not necessarily sure what else sticks out in terms of the TARDIS crew, but they were all really good, and I sort of liked where everyone was going and where everyone left off. I think the when, of course, Prem got shot and you see them walk away out was really powerful, and it was nice that when they were back at the TARDIS, Jodie checking up, or the Doctor checking up on Yasmin and such. It was really good, yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. What about you, Philip?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was mostly in terms of what we got from the companions. Obviously, Yaz got quite a bit, and I think probably about on an equal level, Graham got quite a good few scenes as well. You mentioned his scene with, I forget the character's name now. Is it Prem? Was it Prem, the groom? Prem. Yeah. That was a lovely scene, and I think Yaz's scene with in like the. I suppose you'd call it a hen night, maybe. The equivalent of a hen night, all that sort of stuff was really good. Doctor there as well for that, and I like the way that Yaz is just kind of constantly like, she starts off going, I just want to look. I will look from a distance. I just want to see her, and then she just can't help herself. She just keeps on involving herself more and more in it. And when she hears her gran talking about falling in love with this guy who's not a granddad, and I thought that was really good acting from Mandip, because you could sort of see the kind of like almost panic on her face but that's not my granddad. You need to marry my granddad, and trying to work out what she's going to do, whether or not she can do anything or not. And I think she played that really well. Ryan didn't really have as much to do this episode, but again, he's had quite a lot to do in a lot of the other episodes, so I don't think that really mattered.
No, yeah, those pretty much our exact thoughts as well. As I say, I think there's some great moments with Amanda Gill. There's some brilliant acting, like the start as well. He said, like, kind of when she meets Prim by the side of the road, and she's like, "Oh, we're family," and then she's like, "Hang on." There's nice little moments where she kind of does these outbursts, and then they have to kind of like backtrack and say, "No, we're with this." It's really good. Obviously, we did have an alien threat this episode, which. Again, kind of subverted our expectations with the Fajarians, who were these assassins. But after their race got destroyed, they became peaceful aliens that were kind of monitoring unknown or overlooked deaths. It was an interesting idea, and I'll say I think the aliens themselves are an amazing design. I love all the multiple eyes, the tusks and that were really, really cool. I think it would have been interesting to have seen kind of their life beforehand. What were your guys' thoughts on the Fajarians this episode? Starting with Philip.
Well, the great thing is about it being a time travel show is we can, at some point in the future, meet them when they were assassins. And maybe, who knows, maybe we will get an episode when they were assassins at some point in the future. But I think it worked really well for this story that they weren't. And their role in this story, I think, worked really well as a sort of red herring. They were in all the trailers and, hinted at, and for the first half of the episode, you were led to believe that they were the ones doing the murders, and then you found out that it's actually the humans, and I really like that. I think that carried. I think the end result of that carried much heftier emotional impact than it would have done if it had been the aliens all along and they'd been killing them. So yeah, I think they were used really well. The design was interesting. It was kind of, I couldn't decide if I liked it, if I thought it was a really good design, or if it was a bit too much like a Power Rangers villain. Because I couldn't quite decide. It was definitely. I mean, clearly the production designer that came up with all the costume designer did a really detailed job, and it certainly looks impressive. I just couldn't work out whether or not it was a bit too OTT or if it was quite good. I don't know what you guys thought about the design, but yeah, I couldn't quite decide.
Yeah, I thought. I think it was very detailed. Yeah, I didn't mind the design. So I quite liked it, but I know what you mean, kind of the uncertainty of whether to like it or not. But yeah, I didn't mind. I thought it was fine. What about you, Adam?
I think the design's really cool. They gave across a very menacing presence before causing migraines to a lot of people. That I thought was a really interesting kind of power that they had. I actually like the twist when it turned out they weren't evil, because I think that just adds a layer to their character. And when the Doctor does that sign us in form of respect, I thought that was really nice. I'd quite like Big Finish to do, like, I don't know, a McCoy story where he goes up against them, and as the assassin warriors, the Vajarians. That would be. I'd actually love to see that. A really cool design. It was a beautiful moment when, of course, after Prem's death, when they kind of lift the hologram face up into up in the air, and I think one of my favorite just dissolves ever is you have the bird's eye view of all the holograms, and then it cuts to the TARDIS, the bird's eye view of the TARDIS console. That was a really nice edit. And yeah, anything else about it? Yeah, no, I do want to. They'd be a race I'd love them to revisit, whether it's a TV show or in Big Finish when eventually they catch up to getting the license for the Jodie Whittaker era stuff, and we get that Graham spin-off that we all crave at this point. So yeah, I thought they were really cool, and I'd happy to see, great for this episode, and I'm happy to see them expanded into the future.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll be looking out for them in the classic Doctor's New Monsters range down the line. Yeah, I'd say it was a really nice play on, again, sort of subverting our expectations. Like, we just assumed that they'd done all this stuff, but obviously we realise that the episode's kind of main threat is man and time. Like they said, they're not these gods, and at the end you kind of want them to intervene, because obviously we get to know Prem through this episode. But Sally obviously can't do anything. Let's get a key relationship in this episode was the brother relationship with Prem and Manish, who obviously Manish was very, very annoyed about sort of what happened to his other brother and what was going on with the partition. And Prem was kind of being kind of the moral compass for him, but obviously Manish was just not having any of it. Yeah, again, what do you think of the relationship between the two brothers? Start with Adam.
Yeah, it was that sort of dynamic that really I was I kind of want the brothers to be like, look, everything's going to be fine, like, it's change and everything, it's all good. But the fact that he's practically a man against it and going out of his way to bring these other guys into it, and to kill his brother because of such change that has happened, it was very much a tragic end to their relationship. And Prem, really is that kind of optimist. He's still trying to be like, look, stop all this, bring, and the Doctor being that thing, stop it, bringing him back into the light. But he seems so driven by the fact that he's so destined to carry out what he intends to carry out. It's a tragedy that runs through this episode, and it was a really bitter tragedy, and it was a really well explored tragedy, I'd say, as well. It was tragic, yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Philip?
Yeah, I think tragic is a good word for it. It was very I thought it was a great story the two brothers, and yeah, sort of exploration of how, you know, families can change, and people you know and love they can change, and things that are important to them can change, and you can end up on completely opposite social sort of division sides of things. And it was really well done, and sort of heartbreaking right at the end, where he, just before he gets killed, and Prem is talking to his brother and the other men on the horseback, and it's not just his brother. He mentions one of the other people that he says he fought alongside in the war, and that kind of moment of like, how can you do this to me? You know, we're friends, we're brothers, and that's quite heartbreaking. It was a real, I think why I love these historicals so much is because they are really sort of gripping emotional dramas, human dramas. And I really like that aspect of it. I'm glad they've gone down that route.
No, it's really good. I'll say with obviously the ultimate end did come with Prem. Was there a kind of indication with you guys, like kind of thinking like, oh, I'm kind of hoping that he managed to make out of this, or were you in your heads kind of thinking, oh, he's definitely gonna die? Like, what are you, Philip? Did you kind of have any?
I think he always had to die. I think right from the beginning of the episode, as soon as you found out that Yaz's gran was marrying this guy, and this guy wasn't her granddad, I think I think right then it's inevitable that he was going to die. It was just sort of how it was going to happen that was going to be the what we found out. So it was I think always he was going to die.
What about you, Adam? Did you?
Yeah, it was very sad because I really grown to like Prem. I kind of did want him to go. Of course, it was established that, of course, he wasn't like the granddad that Yasmin knew, but at the same time, I just thought he's the one that Yasmin deserves. He's loyal, kind, and considerate, and brilliant. But yeah, it was very tragic when, of course, he did go, and
as I said, it's one of those things. We've kind of Doctor Who. It's kind of like the companions kind of get involved with their common history. And obviously Yaz gone in there with her kind of own inkling. Obviously, obviously she finds out, oh, who's this bloke? Like that's not my grandfather, and all this stuff. So it's kind of like hard lesson for Yaz to kind of like not to kind of intervene with her own history. Like, and again, another great relationship for this episode that you're kind of rooting is Prem and Umbreen, obviously the younger version of Yaz's grandmother. So it was a really like believable like kind of love story, and it was an amazing thing, kind of showing the real people in this Indian partition. And obviously it was quite sort of like powerful for them to get married in between on both sides of the border, which was a really nice sort of message. What did you think of that relationship between the two, Adam?
Sorry. Which relationship?
Prem and Umbreen.
Prem and Umbreen. Yes, my bad. Prem and Umbreen. Yeah, brilliant relationship. These are clearly two people who are willing to give up all odds to get married, and are very dedicated to each other. And it's great to see, and you can really tell that they've got a really good chemistry on screen. The two actors do really well in making that a convincing, loving relationship. And just trying to really sort of delve it. I think that's really what I'd say. They're great, they're genuine. Prem's really just incredibly loyal, and there's words. There's like it's now just sort of escape my head, like the words.
That's right.
I'm just gonna sort of skip through that. Umbreen, very good, very much the heart of the story. it's great. The scenes with her and Yaz are, as I say, there's a great relationship throughout. And yeah, they were a brilliant couple. They deserve that lovely ceremony that the Doctor held.
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah, what were you? You got any thoughts on?
Yeah, they were. It was a Romeo. Well, it's a Romeo and Juliet story, isn't it? You know,
Sure.
they were from two different sides. Their sides won't object to them getting married, and it's that kind of that story that we know well. But I think it had a nice message to it. It showed that that however much there might be people that are loud and aggressive about two different ideologies, that's not everyone. There may be people that belong to those groups that are quite happy to get along with the other side, and it doesn't have to always be aggressive and we have to wipe out the other side. It's I think that was a nice message, and the actors I think did a good job. I think they portrayed the relationship really well, and the actress playing Umbreen did a fantastic job. She had some lovely scenes, not just with her husband, but there was that moment where she not confronts, she offers an olive branch out to the brother, doesn't she? During the ceremony, she sort of stands up and says, we used to plow the fields together and things, and sort of that gesture of goodwill towards him. And that was really lovely and really well done as well. So yeah, I think they both did a fantastic job.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of forgot about that bit. Yeah, that was a really nice kind of peace offering. But yeah, again, it just shows it was a real nice thing showing sort of like real people in a kind of like bit of a kind of war type scenario. But yeah, no, it was really nice, powerful message. That fit really well the story. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything you guys want to comment on the story before we get our closing thoughts on it?
No, I thought what did you guys think of the music? Because I thought the music was really nice. The way they sort of
theme.
Yeah, they sort of localized, so made it relevant to the story by making it sound slightly Indian. They did that with the theme, obviously, but then the rest of the music throughout as well. I think this is one thing I love. Sega Nakanola's music generally, but one criticism I would have of it generally over the series is that although it's all brilliant, a lot of the episodes sound very similar in terms of their music. There's not, other than this and Rosa, I think all the music has sounded very much like you couldn't distinguish necessarily between them. They got the same sort of motifs and things, and that's the one criticism I'd have of his music. But in this, because of the sort of Indian music influence, it sounds very original and different to the rest of the series. So I think that worked really well.
You could say it's the Chris Chibnall motif.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I'd say I think I've really loved Sega Nakanoli's composing this year. I think I'd say it would have been really interesting kind of get a behind the scenes video of like his collaborative process with other sort of delving into like the Indian music. Which just say, like I said, the closing theme was just a beautiful rendition. Like I listened to it on the loop for ages, afterwards. And Sega Nakanoli actually liked me too as well. So I was like, oh, brilliant. But yeah, no, I say, yeah, I see what you mean, Philip. I think I'd say there ain't really, apart from like the kind of 13th Doctor theme, there's no other tracks really that kind of stick to mind, if you know what I mean. And no kind of like companion type things or anything like that. So yeah, I'd say it'd be interesting to see the kind of end results if there are any music that kind of picks up. But yeah, so yeah, overall, yeah, as another amazing historical episode. I think Doctor Who, that's one of the highlights for me this series. Is the historicals. So all the relationship was great. We were really invested. So I think they did a great job with the Indian partition. You know, kind of not focusing on the real people in that scenario. As I say, it kind of leaves more for people to explore what really happened. Obviously, they give like mentions of what happened, but it gives a lot more to kind of learn more about that. Again, yes, the main team absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Yaz got a lot of brilliant stuff. Kind of that episode for her to kind of really thrive. Graham has some amazing moments. I think the Doctor and Ryan did some brilliant stuff, you know. So yeah, overall, yeah, really amazing story. One of the highlights for Series 11. Nothing really to fault. Kind of subvert expectations, obviously with the villains. But yeah, so what were your overall thoughts, Adam?
Yes, I think this was an emotionally complex, well-written, well-rounded script by Vinay Patel. I think he did really well. I liked the Vajarians. I thought I didn't mind the twist with them actually being watchers of the deceased. I think the Romeo and Juliet, Prem and Umbreen, and Umbreen and Yasmin, those two relationships are really at the heart of the story with the TARDIS crew. Not necessarily, and they don't feel useless or at all. Like particularly Graham's lovely words of wisdom, all we've strived to be good men. It beautifully acted. Jodie Whittaker is very good, giving all kind of facets to the role. I think this is probably her defining episode for me so far. I think she did really well. I even like the beginning when she's in the TARDIS and she has the wielding mask from the woman who fell to Earth from episode 1. It was quite a nice touch. That was really, really cool. And yeah, the woman who plays the older Umbreen, it was brilliant too. Lovely. It felt genuine. It was beautiful. The sci-fi element played in really well with the historical. I'd say like a 9 out of 10 so far. You never know, a rewatch, it could be like a 10. It is becoming one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who for quite a while. I'll say 9. Sonic is overused, and this kind of also goes into Kerblam, the pillar on the TARDIS console room moving up and down. Like someone noticed that at the beginning, at the end of Demons, but you can see it at the end of Kerblam as well, when it's kind of that. Oh dear, I didn't think that looked good at all.
The worst thing about that I noticed, as well as noticing that it goes up and down, I noticed at the end of Kerblam, the arch bits, the crystal like arch bits, they sort of they go in and out like that.
Yeah,
and it looks terrible.
Oh.
They sort of dip down and dip up and dip down and dip up. I don't like it. It looks because it makes them look not crystal anymore for starters, which is it just makes it look makes it look a lot cheaper. I think when they move. I don't know if I had there, but I waited.
I say you two not fond of the new TARDIS, of you? Like the new TARDIS interior, like you both got mixed feelings on it. No.
Only warming to it episode by episode, but not a whole lot. I don't think it's really going to be a new favorite, or even in terms of the Revive series, won't be. I'd probably say in terms of Revive series, I'd say the previous one is my favorite. And then I will always, I guess, have a small soft spot for 9 and 10s. But I think it's kind of more on the level with Matt's first one. I think it was a bit too flash over substance. Yeah. I think is the case for, I'd say, this and also Matt Smith's first one.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to mention actually, because when she has the watch, and obviously she's kind of using it as a telepathic thing to get to the location. It kind of, I don't know, it said kind of like the like taps, which gave me so many vibes of like the first Matt Smith TARDIS, which had all these like different real elements to it. So it's very similar to that TARDIS. I like all the crystal stuff, and that's great. But I can understand, like I think I noticed. Yeah, I think I must have. Well, I definitely noticed at the end of Kerblam, the kind of moving stuff. We were moving with the console piece, but I'm fond of it, but not overly fond of it. But I do like it. I think that's mainly because of the crystal stuff, though, because I quite like that stuff. So, but yeah, I can understand why mixed feelings on it. So yeah, that was our kind of thoughts on Kerblam. Kerblam, Doom's Punjab. Got a few comments. Oyster99 says hi all. Hi mate. Colin says it was great. I don't know if he's on about Doom's Punjab as a whole, but we shall see. So yeah, that was our review. That's one ticked off the list. Now we're going to move on to the most recent episode, Kerblam, which reads as follows: the synopsis reads. When the Doctor finds a mysterious call for help packaged with a delivery from the galaxy's largest retailer, she and her friends get to work and find out the cause of distress. However, is the human 10% of the workforce rebelling against the robots, or is there a much more complicated plot going on? I'll say, yeah, again, opening thoughts on the story. I remember reading the synopsis for this after Saranga Conundrum, and I was just thinking that doesn't sound great to me at all. But after watching it, again, I thought it was another amazing episode, really, to be honest. It felt for me, it was the first time that everything was working in play and kind of in unison. Like, I felt this so far the series, kind of one element had been sort of higher than the other. But I think with this one, it kind of got all the elements kind of on the right balance. Yeah, what were your overall opening thoughts? Sorry, on the story. Philip, if you want to start.
Yeah, this has been an interesting one, because when I first watched it and when I did my review, I said the majority of the episode I wasn't really engaged with it. It wasn't really gripping me.
Yeah.
And then the last 15 minutes really turned it around for me. And those last 15 minutes, from the point where Kira gets blown up onwards, that sort of, then I was paying attention, and then that was, and I loved everything that came after that. But the bit before that hadn't really engaged me that much, and there was some stuff I didn't like about that sort of first lot of bit of it, that got sort of retroactively improved by the ending, because some of it made sense. Like, I wasn't that keen on the kind of goofy romance between Kira and Charlie initially, but then after, it all made sense once we saw the ending, so it kind of retroactively improved it. But even so, it was still a sort of middling episode. I saw lots of people absolutely raving and saying this is the best episode of the series, and for me that still didn't quite reach that. It improved from what I thought was a slightly below average episode to a good episode, but it wasn't amazing. And then I rewatched it yesterday, and it improved again, because I think I noticed so many other things and I realized how clever the writer had been in setting up certain things that you don't notice until maybe the second time of rewatching it. So again, I think it's jumped up in my expectations since I did my initial review as well. Still not to like anywhere near the best episodes, because I think they're still the historicals for me, but it certainly has improved again, which I wasn't expecting. But having rewatched it, I think the writing is really clever on it, and the way I've forgotten who's written it now, but
Pete McTighe.
Pete McTighe, that's it.
Yeah.
Pete McTighe, and he's been really clever in the way he set things up, I think. So I think that's something that I didn't give him credit for in my review, because I hadn't noticed it so much the first time round. But watching it the second time round, I definitely did.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting to hear your thoughts if it was like a different ending.
Yeah.
I can imagine that going quite down in a.
Yeah, I was all ready to give it a very bad review, and then the ending happened, and I was like, oh, actually, I quite like this now. So
yeah, once those heads blown off, like, oh, this could change.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think Pete McTighe, I think he's been involved with Doctor Who a bit before. Most recently, he's written the Tigran Travangar Airlines promo for the season 19 box set.
Right.
I think he wrote that. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's done any stuff for Big Finish or some of the books as well, but I know he's been part of it before. But yeah, I know what you mean for it. Like, rewatching it today anyway, I was picking up on stuff. I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. Like, on a rewatch, obviously, you know the twist, but it was kind of almost like, I see. It's like connect the dots. But yeah, what were you, Adam? What were your opening thoughts on the story?
Well, going into it, I kind of got vibes of a Sylvester McCoy / sort of RTD kind of story, with the robots. One of them reminded me of the bus conductor from Greatest Show in the Galaxy, which is quite cool. And coming out of it, I thought it was pretty good, pretty decent episode. I don't think I lapped it up as, I think the general consensus is more of a positive one, and I can see elements where people enjoy it, and and it was pretty decent. I think it's interesting. We have kind of two romances in over the span of 2 weeks. One I thought was really well acted and really well done. The other was not so well acted, kind of cheesy, but kind of endearing at the same time. I think, and I quite like actually Charlie and Graham's conversations about that. To be fair, they were quite nice, but that's because Bradley Walsh is just a saint. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's interesting. Like I'd say, out of the episodes, this is the one with the most hammiest acting. By great actors. Like I think like Julie Hesmond's Woman from Broadchurch Series 3. It was good to see her play a lighter role, but sometimes I think she was a bit too over the top at some points, kind of sort of throwing in a kind of extra laugh like every like sentence or something or other, and it was a bit kind of mad. But yeah, I guess if you have a kind of emotionally driven episodes like Divas of the Punjab, having a kind of classic sci-fi throwback, the next one. Series 11 is good with kind of spicing it up with the variety. It'd be a bit strange if the Witchfinders followed Demons of the Punjab, or like Demons of the Punjab followed Rosa or something like that. So it's good that they mixed it up, and it was a pretty decent episode, but not like the average way, but more decent. It was fine.
Interesting. I'm quite interested to hear that. Going into it more detail. Hearing both your thoughts. I'd say I felt this episode had quite obviously Easter eggs. Obviously, the main one being the Fez, which the clip of Deputy on Children in Need. Obviously, Matt Smith's doctor must have ordered a Fez at some point, and somehow they never could track it. Just going through time space, couldn't track it. So I feel sorry for that, Android. You must have been on the loop like 24/7 trying to get to this package to the doctor. And of course, there was a nice reference to Unicorn. And the Wasp. I'd say, what were your guys' thoughts on the Fez and other Easter eggs? Because I think obviously this series has obviously been, we kind of obviously a lot of that in the Moffat area, and this is the first time I feel we had obviously we've had like the Captain Jack's Vortex Manipulator, little stuff like that. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Easter eggs like that? Start with Adam.
Well, I think it's very obvious because Peter McTeague seems to be a massive Doctor Who fan. I think I think he wrote a paragraph saying, "Oh, this is I finally convinced him, or I finally been able to get the job I've always wanted. That's to write an episode of Doctor Who." And considering he wrote like the Teague and Javanka Airlines video, it's clear to see that he's a fan of Doctor Who. So he did include those like the Fez Easter egg, and I think probably the Agatha Christie one, of course, and maybe there was probably one or two others that I didn't quite catch on both watches. So yeah. They were quite nice, and it's quite nice that the little things. It's quite a nice surprise when something like that turns out. Like I didn't expect the Vortex Manipulator, or even like the Stormcage references, both in Rosa, and Chris Chibnall. I think I saw like a little behind the scene video where Chris Chibnall's like, it's sort of nice to have little kisses to the past that don't get in the way or anything, and. You don't have to be like, oh, what, you're not, the general audience isn't lost, basically, because like with the Vortex Manipulator, they say that's how he traveled, and Stormcage, that's the prison. It doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, who's Captain Jack, who's River Song, who's the floppy haired previous version of Jodie's character. It's still tied in to the story and everything, so they're all very cool and very cool, and it seems that Pete was just a massive fanboy who thought, let's just include these little trinkets in there. So it's cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like the definition of Easter egg. It's kind of like if you notice it, it's a great perk, but if not, it doesn't obviously ruin the enjoyment of the story. What were you, Philip? Was there any your favourite ones? Or,
they always, because the Doctor is always spouting off stuff about, quite a lot of the time, previously unseen adventures. She'll name drop somebody, she'll say something about, she'll encounter a villain that we've never seen before, but she'll say something about them because she's encountered them before, she's read something about them before. So, to anybody that doesn't get these references, that's just another one of those to them. That's just something the Doctor's spouting out to sort of, just randomly about one of her past adventures, and I don't think it gets in the way at all of anything. So So yeah, I love it, and for those of us that do get the references, it's really nice to go, oh yeah, I remember that, and oh yeah, Matt Smith used to have that fez, and that's why it's being, and the it's really nice to throw them in, not too many, just
here
and there, get in the way. So
yeah, no, it's as I say, it's very rewarding for us. But obviously it doesn't do the thing with Moffat did, was kind of like for the general audience, kind of just having more than enough Easter eggs and that type of stuff. So
there was a reference.
Oh, what was there?
There was a reference that I kind of got lost. Basically, the Doctor referenced Kandoka, which I thought was a reference to the Stolen Earth, because the 10th Doctor said something along the lines of the Tangodoka scale, which is basically like the signal wavelengths that he like something to do with the bees. It was something like mentioned in the Stolen Earth, but it was a different, like it was Kandoka than Tandoka. They rhyme, but I thought there was kind of a weird reference to that, a very obscure one. But yeah, I thought it was a reference, but it wasn't. But yeah, it was cool.
Could be all in sort of the same place. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, going on to the Doctor and the TARDIS team this week. Of course, obviously with Ryan, it was obviously him kind of going on these adventures, but then sort of being right back home with obviously the workplace. I think so again, I thought Joe had some amazing moments in this episode. Quite a lot of confrontational scenes with obviously the main manager bloke, and of course saying that quite a threatening moment when she said to them both, like, "I'll find out you two are part of this. You have me to deal with," and stuff like that. Yeah, as I say again, I think she had some great comedic stuff. Yeah, I think Graham was brilliant with the comedy this episode. It kind of, I say they all had sort of another great episode where they kind of all had something to do, which was brilliant. I say, yeah. So going on to Adam, was there any, just sort of generally talking about the Doctor and the TARDIS team, any moments that stood out, etc.
The Doctor and the TARDIS team. Yeah, the Doctor was quite good. I liked the confrontation she sort of had with Judy. No, here's the thing. Like for me, it's just like, is it Judy and Julie? Because like one is the character's name, one is the actress's name. So I might even be saying like the actress's name instead of the character's name, but I believe the character's name is Judy. The actress is Julie. Okay, yeah. Cool. Like her conversation with Judy was really cool. But then I didn't like them. It was kind of undercut when she's like, "Oh, was that okay? Was I a bit too harsh or something like that?" I was like, "No." The Doctor always does have that bite without, having those moments. It's like, oh, was that too harsh? Or there was a moment like that in Thin Ice. He punched that racist, and then he's like, oh, I didn't. I was like, oh man, because the Doctor does have that bite and is convicted and convinced by the kind. I guess like that kind of more darker elements. I guess so that was a bit odd. But other than that, she was very good. It was quite cool seeing that excitement on her face when the Kerblam man showed up. It's quite nice that it's quite nice that adds that kind of history that the Doctor that we don't know, like the Doctor has heard about this organization and such that, and suddenly there is this mystery behind it. I thought it was really cool. Yasmin with Lee Mack. I'll call him Lee Mack. I'm not quite sure of Dan. That's the character name. Dan. Yasmin and Dan, that was a really nice back and forth. Dan was really cool. For what we got to see of him anyway, I was sad that he was gone. I thought Lee Mack would be, from beginning to end, I thought he'd be more of a prominent role in this, I guess, because it's Lee Mack, very kind of, I guess, in demand, but also maybe they didn't know how long they'd get him. Maybe like sort of like Richard Wilson, like you're not quite sure how long you can really have a guest actor in. So you'd have to work around a role that you kind of maybe in and out in like, I don't know, a week or something, a week's filming or whatever. But those scenes between Yasmin and Lee Mack were really nice. It was interesting later on in the episode where Ryan and Yasmin and Charlie, they're about to go down the chute, And then, of course, this Ryan does bring up his dyspraxia. That's kind of we're kind of the audience kind of reminded, of course, this character, you know, is kind of a little anxious and a bit afraid, but that conveyor belt scene was quite nice actually. How Yasmin's like, you can do this, you can, and they both jumped over and stuff. So really nice dialogue. Graham's good, had some really nice scenes with Charlie. So it's quite nice seeing the TARDIS team sort of build relationships with the other cast. That was a very good aspect to the story, and one of the I'd say the more positive things I'd have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the TARDIS team, they were used probably as a quartet for the best way they've been used this series, in terms of giving them all something to do. Because every other episode, there's been at least one person that's had a bit of a back seat. Whereas I think the way they structured this was quite good, in that the whole undercover thing where they all split off and then they all came back together about halfway through, or actually they all kind of came, about halfway through they came back into twos, and then from then they came together. So it's kind of like splitting off and then gradually coming back together. And that worked really well for for sort of giving them all something to do, which was quite nice for a change.
What I liked was in the TARDIS scene sort of later on, where the Doctor's like where Yasmin was like to the Doctor, "Oh, we've got this was Dan's. Can we go to visit his daughter?" And just to say how much he loved her and how much he missed her and stuff like that. It was a really lovely, touching scene, and I love it, the fact that that kind of encounter that Yasmin has is never not really truly forgotten. It's not like kind of swept away once he died. They kind of ignore the character. I think that it was great that in the end you have a scene like that where because Yasmin clearly thought he was a good man and that he deserved he deserved like to have that passed on to his daughter on Kandoka. I thought it was a lovely scene at the end. Yeah,
it was a lovely scene. It actually, as much as I said, I didn't rate this episode, that one scene actually made me cry. I genuinely was crying at that scene, and that partly I put that down to having a daughter myself and being a parent and things. Those type of things tend to hit a nerve a lot more now than they might have done 5 years ago or so. But yeah, that point, that scene had me in tears. The thought of like, just imagining like visiting the daughter and having to tell her that her dad had died and this little girl. It's heartbreaking.
It was a really nice, powerful surprise. Like you said, it was kind of in the episode. It was, it was a really lovely touch. And like I said, obviously, I don't have kids, so, but I can understand obviously like that more sentimental value, obviously, of course, like, but yeah, I say it's one of those things. The Doctor does so lovely. Like that's to say, like you said, you obviously got that picture of Yaz going to do that. It's a really nice sort of tribute to that character. So. Moving on to the Kerblam robots, which I didn't find them creepy. I know some, obviously the episode was trying to say that they were this kind of creepy look to them, and I thought they were pretty good design actually. Of course, obviously the similarities to the robot from The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, I believe, Sylvester McCoy story. What were your guys' thoughts on that design? Do you think they worked? Start with Adam.
The sinister thing about them is that the robots were voiced by Joe Miller from Broadchurch. I think he lent a really kind of what was that, Reese? Did you say something?
I just went because I didn't realise it was that.
You didn't know it was Joe Miller?
No.
Oh yeah, it's the guy that was Joe Miller. I think that's kind of the sort of thing for us Broadchurch / Doctor Who fans who are fans of both shows.
It's a bit of a massive Broadchurch reunion.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they were quite. I do like those kind of voices. Kind of reminds me of like the Vok robots and also the Heavily Hosted. The kind of upbeat, but also really sounds similar. So it's like, this is great, chap, but it's like it's decreasing productivity and kind of happy, but kind of the happy way of saying dark dialogue kind of thing. I like that. They're decent design. The post. Not long ago, we had that strange Postman Pat movie with the Pat robots, Postman robots rather. We shall say. So kind of gave me slight vibes of that, and yeah, they were decent design, pretty cool, and very happy, joyous, but eerie voices.
Oh, so they did work for you then?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, they were for what they were in as well, because they you sort of have moments where they aren't really, they're not like a massive presence on the story, and they aren't in it, I'd say, a whole lot, but I think I would have liked some more scenes with them to get, I guess, the eeriness a bit across a little bit more. I would say they had like a couple of moments where I thought, oh yeah, but I don't think a whole lot to scream about. That's what I'd say. I think that's fair.
Yeah, what were you for that?
Yeah, funny, Adam, you should say about the Postman Pat. Somebody had posted a comment on my review about an hour ago saying that the plot was very similar, and they said ripped off, I think, from the Postman Pat movie, which apparently also had David Tennant voicing a character.
That's in it. True. That is very true. He was the villain.
I've never seen it, so I don't know, but
no.
But there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry, crack on.
I was going to say I think they worked in the story. I think the cheerfulness of them was I think it worked well with the story. I don't know if I'd call them creepy as such, or not that they're not creepy in the same way as like the host were from Voyage of the Damned or other robots throughout. They're not that kind of creepy. They're just kind of slightly unnerving because of their cheerfulness. I think so. Yeah, maybe not creepy, but yeah, there's just something like something slightly strange about them. No, I think they worked really well, and the voice worked really well, and it being Joe Miller, it was interesting. Guy that played Joe Miller, and yeah, I think I like them.
Yeah, I'll say thanks, Son. I didn't even know it was voiced by Joe Miller. It definitely was like a Broadchurch kind of mini reunion. Yeah, I did like the design, and I thought, like I said, that kind of like I said, that sort of positivity and that kind of vulnerability. You kind of got to put the sort of lot of trust in them, but like I said, obviously they could be potentially turned bad. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd like that. And, yeah, I thought it was a decent design from the people involved. Yeah, going on to like the two management characters of this episode so far. I know Adam briefly talked about Judy, but of course we had Judy and Java Slade was his name, who started off obviously as this kind of cliched horrible boss. But obviously, at the end of it, again, it kind of subverts expectations of him being just looking out for his sort of staff, but again, it's not really excusable for the comments he makes to Kira. Yeah, I like the character of Judy. Obviously, she'd have those kind of awkward bits at the start, which I thought would play well because that was kind of her character. Like, she didn't really interact much with people, as she was saying. So even though she was like a humans management person, I thought it was a bit like, okay. Yeah, what were your thoughts on those two characters? Start with Philip.
Yeah, I think again you had a sort of red herring in this. I think we're getting a lot of red herrings in this series, and in this one, the management guy, Java, was it? Is that what you said his name was? Java?
Yes, Java Slade.
Java. Yeah, he was sort of the red herring. You kind of thought, they led us to believe that with him spying on them with the monitor and then loading up the gun and stuff. And it turned out that he was working to try and find out what was going on as well. So red herring again, but I think it kind of worked, and it was not. I liked the fact that it wasn't the management that were the bad guys, because not for any reason that I think a lot of people went into this assuming that it would be a bit of a criticism of companies like Amazon and things and their working practices, and in a way early on it was slightly, but that wasn't the main focus of it. And actually I think that would have been too obvious and a bit of a boring choice to make. as much as you know whether or not you agree with whether or not those sort of things should be tackled. I think it would have been too obvious a choice. Whereas I like what they did in subverting that, and again, like they did last time, subverting our expectations a bit. And I feel that was really good. So having the management not be the bad guys and actually ending up teaming up with Team TARDIS was really nice. And I think they both did a good job. I think you mentioned earlier that Judy, whichever one is the actress, possibly played it a little bit hammy, but I don't know, it kind of worked. It didn't bother me. I think she did a fine job, and yeah, he was not the guy playing Java was suitably nasty when you wanted when that fitted, when he was talking to Kira and stuff. And yeah, he maintained his character throughout. You could tell he wasn't like the friendliest, like not going to be the kind of person you necessarily want to go to the pub with, but so he kept that up even when it turned out he was working for the good. He sort of kept up the slightly like, okay, yeah, but you're a bit of an annoying person type aspect. But yeah, I think they did a good job.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. Yeah, well, you, Adam?
I think the guy character, the male, I forgot his name. Marvin, what did you say, Jarvin or something?
Java,
as in JavaScript, as in the Java thing on your computer or something or other. Oh, nice. I like this. I love the scene at when the Doctor stands up to Kira, stands up for Kira, to him, like treating employees with great respect, and that's kind of the thing that kind of leads into that red herring that he's kind of the kind of dick who's running Kerblam, who's who you think is behind everything but isn't. And as for Judy, I'd say Julie, the actress. I mean, I think that's the whole point, that she was meant to be a bit hammy and a bit kind of putting it on. It's definitely a massive contrast to seeing her in Broadchurch, where it was a lot more. It was very serious. And here's a little different here, playing a lighter role, so it's kind of nice and refreshing to see that side, because I think she's in Coronation Street and she's probably a bit of both in that, but more lighter in this episode. I guess it doesn't. It didn't bother me. It bothered me sometimes, I guess, the performance. But at other times, I quite liked it. I think it was more toned down later than it was before. I think it was a bit more hammy at the start, but kind of, she found her feet at near the end. But that's kind of the thing on Doctor Who. You got to really try to. At the beginning, you kind of try to find your way, and then eventually you kind of settle in and do good. So they were pretty decent. They were kind of the guys. They were nice asset to the TARDIS team, finding out what was going on.
Yeah, no, so it was nice to have like two people in management that kind of at the end were joining with the Doctor. It kind of, do you know what I mean? Like usually, obviously, like Philip said, they went down the kind of like anti sort of like Amazon thing, and then being the villains. I don't know if that would have gone down too well. But it's funny actually, because I believe the Witchfinders was apparently leaked by Amazon Prime a few days ago.
Yes.
It's sort of like they've just had an episode like against kind of all that, and it's like Amazon gone, oh, whoops, sorry. So I don't know how much that kind of leads into it, but yeah, of course we got to know as well the also the people that kind of work at the Kerblam factory. We had obviously Dan, obviously you mentioned, played by Lee Mack. So I'm a huge fan of Lee Mack's comedy work. So I don't know. So I don't know if that was a kind of like that role was obviously already written. So it's nice that he cameos, and obviously he has some great comedic stuff utilised for his character. And of course, it was nice to have that kind of nice ending to his character. Obviously at the end with Yaz and the bracelet. Also Kira, who I thought it was a bit strange, better like, which obviously that was kind of her character. But certain things where she was like, oh, I've never got a present before, and I just didn't have that sort of believability. But she had obviously good intentions. Obviously, that was kind of the point. Obviously, when she does have her head blown off by the bubble wrap, you kind of have that sort of like kick. Yeah, what were your thoughts on those two characters? Starting with Adam.
Kira and Charlie. I think.
Kira and Dan.
Oh, Lee Mack. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
my bad. Lee Mack. Best thing about I think Dan's character. He got a poster. Like Lee Mack got a poster in this one because there was even that scene. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm on the poster. Lovely scenes between Dan and Yasmin. You could tell that Yasmin was really intrigued. Well, like they very much got on very well, and they're very much interested and in each other, and they were a great dynamic. And the fact that at the end, that she hasn't really forgotten about him, which is great. I think that's a really nice kind of. It's not just you kill off Lee Mack and that Lee Mack's character, or Dan rather, and that's it. That's it's very easy for it to do, to kind of bring it back at the end, saying, "Here's this. I think it's the best that we go back to go see his daughter and tell her how much she loved him and how much she missed him." And I thought it was great, and I think it's one of the highlights of the episode for me was despite the fact that Lee Mack had a short amount of screen time, I liked him. He was really cool, and it was very Lee Macky, but more toned down than sort of, I guess, more of the not going out role that he played. I know the character in that, but the role he played in not going out. As for Kira, I don't have a whole lot to say about her. I think the actress was pretty decent. When it came to the thing between her and Charlie, it was dorky and awkward, but slightly in that cheesy way. But then there is that element of cheese in the whole story, I think. Sometimes good, sometimes it is what it is. It's a bit cheesy, but it does make kind of a nice change of pace, I guess. So it depends if you're one of those people who thought, one of those people who thought, what I thought was funny was Graham was like, oh, I remember when you were like that, Ryan. And then Ryan was just like, haha, funny. I think that was the funniest. That was the thing I took from that scene. Not that doggy relationship, but more the fact that, Graham kind of humiliated Ryan in front of the Doctor and Yasmin. I thought it was quite funny. Yeah, she was all right, I guess. Wasn't too bad. Kira, Lee Mack, Dan. I say Lee Mack, Dan. The two are exactly the same. Yeah, Lee Mack is probably the highlight guest character for me, definitely.
Oh, brilliant. What were you, Phil? Any stuff to add on? Kira?
I liked Dan. He was fine. It was kind of Lee Mack just playing Lee Mack. I mean, I think he was very similar to he was in Not Going Out, but maybe you're right. Maybe he was a little bit downplayed, but it's basically the same character, I think. And I think he's very much like that in everything that I've seen him in, and in real life. I've briefly met him in real life as well, and he seemed very much that as well. I think he's one of those people that does tend to play the same character. So I don't think it necessarily brought anything massively interesting, but it was fine, and it worked quite well for that role. It fitted that, and it was lovely. And got his little one-liners in there, and it was nice. Kira, I found annoying mostly. She was just overly cheesy, too much, I think. And that's the writing, not the actresses' fault, I think. But all the stuff about, when I'm to get rid of the boredom of the work, I just think about the people opening the presents and the smile on the packages and the smile on their faces, and it's just a bit groan-worthy. And I think the best thing about her in this episode was when she died, which sounds horrible. But that actually had some impact, and I thought was a really good moment. Whereas most of the rest of the time she was on the screen, I just found her annoying. So
it didn't really do its job then. It kind of, because obviously the point was to kind of sympathise with, and obviously then when she gets her head blown off, like
and I did. I mean, she was very sweet, but to the point where I think I a little bit nauseatingly sweet, I think. And I did feel sympathy for her because she was very sweet and she seemed like a lovely person. I just think I'd find her a bit full on in Yeah, in real life.
Yeah, would not want to be next to her in a warehouse.
No.
You'd just be going mad. Yeah, as I say, you mentioned about the Lee Mack stuff. It'd be quite interesting to know actually how much of that was scripted and how much that was put in by Lee Mack. I'm quite interested if that was improvised or not. But yeah, and of course, going on to Charlie, who had the same motivations, I guess, as the villain. Well, the threat in Demons of the Punjab, with the kind of breading of like the kind of system and all that stuff. And obviously, yeah, I'd say going back, watch obviously once we know the twist that it was him, and has this obviously great plan of using evil Bubba Rap to cause chaos and obviously cause this kind of rebellion against the robots, which he feels are kind of taking the work away from the people, etc. I say I didn't see it coming personally. I thought it was a really nice sort of twist. Yeah, what were your guys' thoughts on him as a character and as being the overall villain in the end? Start with Philip.
I think he was a really good. I think he's probably one of the most developed villains we've actually had. A lot of the villains so far, and it hasn't. I've seen a bit of complaint about this, but it hasn't really bothered me. But I acknowledge it's a fact that a lot of the villains haven't had much backstory, haven't had much development as such throughout the episodes, and that to me is fine. You don't always need it. I think Charlie did have a bit of that, and I think it worked really well. And as I was saying earlier, when the writer was very good at seeding things in earlier on that you don't notice until maybe don't notice until you watch it a second time round. Cool. I think you got that with Charlie. You got little hints, when he's surprised to see Graham there in his, being assigned to him as another janitor type person. The look on his face and just little things like that and a few of the references. I think it was a really well developed sort of line. I can imagine someone who had so much to a cause and putting his plan into place, and especially after seeing someone he quite liked blown up, and his plan going a bit awry, might go over the edge that much that they would then as it goes around end up getting blown up themselves when they could have avoided it. And it just seemed like a quite believable character in a way. And I like the fact that he had a cause that was understandable, but his methodology of trying to advance that cause was quite despicable. So you got the kind of nice. I think the whole episode balanced out the kind of the different parties and their motivations really well, actually, because there was some criticism of working. There was a little bit of criticism of working practices. There was the other side, Charlie's sort of argument side of the thing. And I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, I think overall I liked Charlie, and I thought he was acted really well, and I liked him.
Brilliant.
Not personally, not like I would want to be friends with him, because I don't want to be friends with someone that will blow up random people with packages. But as a character, I would I think he was interesting.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with being the most developed. I think obviously this season one of the issues with it has been kind of the lack of focus on villains. So it's nice to kind of have that kind of attention to detail on the characters. But yeah, obviously, like you obviously say, you kind of get where he's coming from, but obviously, like you said, the way he executes that is just no go. So, what about you, Adam?
Yeah, the actor, did a decent job. With the role, I think there was that kind of he sort of, I guess, with Juliet slightly hammy, but not entirely grating hammy, but just playing it, I guess, on that right level. But I thought I don't know if I really got a whole lot to add that you guys haven't already touched on, but I thought because they gave him all the chances in the world, because he didn't. The doctor's like, oh, you didn't expect to fall in love, you didn't expect all this to happen, but there is this opportunity to just stand down, sort of. And I guess that is kind of reminds me of Demons, the villain always have an opportunity to kind of be like, no, you don't have to do this. You know, the characters really are trying to like, be like, you know, it's not too late. But then eventually he got his demise from Killer Postman Pats, and you'd never think you'd say that about an episode of Doctor Who. So I thought he's decent, a decent enough character. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'd say Doctor Who has many of the years played with our kind of primal fears. Obviously, the Weeping Angels, where you couldn't blink. The silence, where you couldn't remember them. This episode has bubble wrap, which blows out. Which obviously, I'd say I don't know. It depends on what your kind of reaction to bubble wrap is. I was kind of thinking, obviously, most people obviously pop bubble wrap. Some people, I know some people kind of find it quite annoying. But do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things people like play with it. So what do you think of that idea? Like,
I was going to say, Reese, wouldn't you associate your first Doctor Who memory with bubble wrap?
Yes. Well, yeah, of course.
I wouldn't mind too.
Yeah. There was quite a lot of things on Twitter actually, and they were saying, "Oh God, all these monsters are like." There was I think in the Five Doctors, I think Wendy Padbury's outfit is bubble wrap.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I had no idea it was. Yeah, obviously there's been many villains over the years which have used bubble wrap, but so I don't know if that was kind of like a meta joke to classic Doctor. Yeah, what did you think of the idea of Charlie's sort of method of using bubble wrap? Start with Adam.
Well, it's very ingenious, and you know, no one would you'd ever think it. Because when they kind of open up, they're like, "Oh, it's just toys and all this different stuff." It's like, actually, no, it's the bubble wrap. It's one of those. It's one of those kind of, I guess, unintentionally funny revelations. I guess that was going to happen. It's tragic, of course, the fact that, you know, this bubble wrap is lethal, but it's bubble wrap. It's making the mundane scary, which Doctor Who has done for a while. And you know, if you paint bubble wrap green, that's also really freaky to look at. So, Doctor Who keeping with tradition there. So, yeah, it was interesting, and also sort of that scene at the end where Graham was about to pop it, but of course refused. But Ryan did at the beginning of the story, so I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, is that the same bubble wrap that Graham has at the end? The one that Ryan had at the beginning?
I assume so.
Yeah, because it makes sense. I didn't mind the fact that Ryan did it at the beginning, because you know, that could have got sent out before the explosive bubble wrap was inputted. But yeah, strange that if it is the same piece of bubble wrap, that then they would be saying, Graham, don't do that, because they know if Graham has already popped it, they know that one's fine. So
yeah,
that's the TARDIS is like, you know, killer bubble wrap proof or something.
State of grace.
Yes, yes, state of temporal grace. Yeah, I was watching The Hand of Fear the other night, so yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the Doctor Who poop edit where he does push it and then.
Oh yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Twitter, poop. Yeah. If you go on their Twitter page, it's quite a funny thing. It's just like, yeah, right.
I liked the bubble wrap. It was I didn't sort of I guess it didn't occur to me before, you know, the moment when the Doctor says, but they're all different packages, or somebody says they're all different things in the boxes. It was only then that I started to think, oh, maybe it's the bubble wrap, but which was only a second before the reveal. So I think they did a good job of sort of seeding the hints, but never actually enough that like it wasn't obvious. So I think that was well done, and yeah, it makes it another ordinary thing scary, I suppose, as Doctor Who likes to do.
Yeah. Somebody just put in the comments actually saying, it's Gene that Karen. He says, "But have you popped any bubble wrap since?" Is the real question.
No,
yes, I have.
I've got any. Hold on.
I'm
sure I had some somewhere.
I've not had the opportunity yet, but I've
maybe not.
I've got it's not the fair live stream.
There's some bubble wrap in here.
Oh, there we go.
Hold on.
Be careful.
No, it's fine. Clearly didn't come from Kerblam.
Some people find it really. I spoke to a few people that really find that sound. I don't know. I just, if I'm bored, I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's fine. But
I like getting it to a really big like whole thing and twisting it all together.
Oh, I'm not trying.
Like 20 or 30 at once. It's
wow. I'll have to try that. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. So overall thoughts. Any other stuff you guys want to talk about this as well? Yeah, I really like this episode. It's, to be honest with you, it's up there with one of the better episodes of this series. Kind of middle range, I'd say. Sort of just below the historical for me, really. I think, as I said at the beginning, all the elements were in play. I think the TARDIS team and the Doctor was really well utilised. They had something to do again. I thought the supporting characters are great. I thought they were well acted. And obviously, it kind of plays while subverting their expectations as well. With obviously the villain, all this stuff. I thought the Kerblam robots were quite fun, nice Easter eggs. So yeah, I think not one of the best episodes, but I think it's up there one of the good ones this series. I think again, subverting our expectations, good story. Yeah, as I say, it broke my expectations going into it because I remember reading the synopsis after the Saranga conundrum. I was thinking, oh, this sounds, oh no, but I was really pleasantly surprised. And yeah, I really enjoyed the story, to be honest. Yeah, what were your other thoughts and any moments you haven't mentioned yet? Start with Adam.
Kerblam. Yeah, I think this is a pretty solid episode. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the series, but an entertaining ride nevertheless. I think the supporting cast vary from cheesy but decent, but to pretty good. I would say the TARDIS team were really cool, and I would say agree with Phil. They're probably one of the best utilized in going off with different characters and then joining forces, stuff like that. That was really cool. The killer postman packs were it was quite a decent design to them. There was that moment, that kind of unnerving feel that they bring across. I think that's done really well. I quite like to see more scenes of them, to be honest, but to kind of really, I think, unnerve people a little more, maybe push the envelope a little further. But they were fine for what they were. Killer bubble wrap, like well done. That was fun. Charlie and Kira, the kind of cheesy teen romance thing, which I'm not keen on because I'm older and more bitter about that kind of thing. But endearing for others who may like that. Yeah, it was a nice little fun little bit of sci-fi, I guess, a nice little slice. I'd probably be. I was going to go 6, but I'd probably now go for a 7. Yeah, not too bad.
Interesting. Philip.
Yeah, I think as I said at the beginning, every time I keep on reevaluating this, and it gets a little bit better every time I do. The last 15 minutes or so are the best bits of the episode, I think, for me. And from the moment Kira dies, I think that had a great impact. And then the twist of it being Charlie was really good. And as I said, there was that scene even back in the TARDIS after the plot had wrapped up that made me cry. So emotional impact there was really good. So that last 15 minutes, I think, is really good. And if I was marking that by itself, it'd be a lot higher. The episode as a whole gets better on rewatch. I think there's things you don't notice. I think the writer was really clever in seeding some things that you don't notice or you don't realize until after you've seen it to the end. And maybe even on a second rewatch. And a lot of that's it's not just Charlie, but a lot of that's to do with Charlie. So the fact that the robot in the office goes straight for him and tries to attack him because it's trying to, because it knows he's the one that's causing all of this, and little things like that are really good. So it definitely got better on rewatch, I think. But there are still some negatives to the episode. I found Kira quite annoying, as I said. I think the conveyor belt scene was pretty bad. I didn't like that at all. I think that the CGI was terrible, and just like the high five that knocked Charlie off, and it looked bad. It felt contrived, and and didn't really make much sense. Like when they were going through the spraying them with stuff to remove organic contamination sort of made sense, but then firing lasers and stuff to remove that would just destroy the packaging, surely, and the stuff they're trying to send out. So that whole scene I thought was pretty bad. So it was a mixture of stuff, but there was stuff I liked about it as well on rewatch. I like Twirly. I hadn't mentioned, nobody's mentioned Twirly yet. Twirly was fun. The little sort of first generation delivery bot. He sort of reminded me of the and I've seen other people say this, Talkie Toaster from Red Dwarf. Have you seen Red Dwarf?
I think I know what you're on about. Yeah,
there's a toaster on Red Dwarf that is like constantly trying to convince people to eat toast. And that's it. It's an AI toaster that's constantly trying, and it kind of reminded me a bit about that because of all the constant trying to upselling and things like that the Twirly was doing, and that was a nice little comedy moment, I thought. Another really good scene I thought was when Java, was it? Yeah, Java was having a go at Kira, and I think one of you mentioned earlier on when the Doctor stands up to him, and I love that sort of the fact that she points out that, you know, respect goes both ways, and I thought that was a really good message to get across in the episode, that, you know, yes, you have to respect your employers, but they have to respect you too, and it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. I think that's a good message as well. So overall, I think I would give this now, I'd probably give this a 6. I'd now class it as definitely a good episode, but I think there have been better in the series. Maybe a 6, maybe 6.5. 6.5.
Interesting. Yeah, I completely forgot about that sequence. Yeah, I felt when watching it though, it was just a bit awkward and just a bit just a kind of forced action sequence type thing. And yeah, I remember actually when you said about the high five thing, on the route to that, I literally laughed out loud. So I didn't realise it at first. Like, literally the high five stuff, I was like, oh my god. Yeah, was it Twisty the robot? Was that his name? Twirly, there we go. Sorry, yeah.
Twirly, the original delivery bot.
Yeah, I thought he was hilarious. You know, the kind of like nervous kind of robot. He sort of like he just was just trying to help out, you know, but kind of that AI type thing, which was really funny. It kind of reminded me of the 2005 Diet design. I just got those kind of vibes, kind of with the gold, obviously, dome and kind of the massive eye. Like, I just that type of imagery, I don't know, really stuck out to me. But so yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess, and that's our review on Kerblam. Let's have a look at the comments. I know there's a few people that have asked a few questions and that. It's Marcus123 says, "What's your favorite episode of the season so far? Mine being Kerblam or Demons of the Punjab, as they were two really well acted and have both had great scripts behind them." Do you want to say your favorite episode so far for the series, or?
Mine is either Rosa or Demons of Punjab, but I'm not. I need to watch them both back to back to sort of decide which one. But it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, yeah, same for me. I was going to say Rosa, but it's like I don't know how, because like you think oh, one good thing about that one good thing about that one, but I think I'm edging towards Rosa. Yeah, what about you, Adam? Do you have a favourite so far?
I do indeed, and I've got to say it's Demons of the Punjab. I think that's the one that emotionally resonated with me the most. It was the one that got me on the edge of my seat, sort of, you know, during the episode. So I think if anything, it's going to be that one. But there are like moments. I say if I was going to go back to Kerblam, that I think there are some really good, there's some really nice highlights in other episodes. I think that's kind of the thing with this series. Even if you'd give an episode like a general kind of, oh, that was like good and decent, there's always moments in some of the episodes that stand out for you, like the Yasmin and Dan dynamic in Kerblam, and I quite liked when the Doctor reunited with the TARDIS and the Ghost Monument. Well, not one of your favourites, but there are like moments that really stand out.
Yeah, no, yes, I can see why, but yeah, I say it's great to have kind of two sort of posing like the best historicals so far. But Carol Clark, Superman Kent, big Superman fan, says Kerblam is their favourite. And Jean Luke Harry says Twirly for new companion. Yeah, that would be great. I know there was rumours, of course, when we first started this series that there was going to be a cat on board, but Twirly for the new K9 position. That'd be quite funny, like having the Doctor kind of like take Twirly around, like. So yeah, that so briefly talk about obviously tonight's episode, which is on at 6:30 on BBC One, the Witchfinders. I say I think the trailers have been pretty decent actually this time around. Kind of a bit more substance to them, I guess. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the trailers and the pictures we've seen, all that stuff? Because it kind of feels. Am I right in saying it's kind of like zombies and potential witches? I have no idea. Like
zombies.
Yeah, because they got there's a scene in the trailer, and there's been a few pictures of like kind of dead bodies hang up. Am I right in saying that? I don't know. That's what I got from the trailer anyway. What were you, Adam? What were your thoughts on the stuff so far?
Well, like, if we're getting zombies, like, oh my god. I think this was essentially my most anticipated episode of the series. I kind of like. I think this is a more gothic historical, I would say, in line with some of like Philip Hinchcliffe stuff. I think it'd be quite. I think I'm looking forward to the portrayal of King James I. Although I have heard it's more on the because it's portrayed by Alan Cumming, that it's more it's a kind of camper, kind of weird, strange kind of performance. Well, I would say strange, but like definitely more camp edge. That's what I've heard anyway. But I'm intrigued by it nevertheless. But I think it's going to be another bold one, particularly with the kind of the time period, and think something that might happen to the Doctor. I think there's been a lot of things have alluded to something that might happen to the Doctor in this episode, and even by some of the trailers you could tell that there's something that could be happening. I won't say, but I think maybe for some of you it might be apparent what does happen, but particularly in the context of the episode. But it's one I'm really intrigued about. I don't know a whole lot necessarily about the story. I guess that's at play, but that's quite good. It's quite nice going in blind. I think it's probably the one I know the least about, I'd say, the series. So I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, Philip.
What I'm hoping for is for a pure historical, as I said earlier. So I'm kind of hoping that we don't get any aliens, we don't get any supernatural things. What they might do is do something like they might hint that there might be a question about whether or not there's real witches or somebody doing something that and then what I would like to then see is it turn out that no, that there's just humans doing whatever's going on. So whether or not that be, you said something about bodies and things. I must have missed that in the trailer. But they was there something hanging from a tree? Am I remembering that right? Or
there might be.
Can't remember. But yeah, I'm hoping it will be kind of more about the persecution of people accused of witches by King James, and so effectively King James is the bad guy, and his round hats and his witchfinder general type people are the bad guys of the episode. I'd really like to see that, but I don't know if they're going to be brave enough to do it this season or not. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you said. I feel like they're kind of gradually taking the alien threat away. It does that sort of natural progression. So, yeah, so I think if they were going to do it, this would be the perfect opportunity. But I don't know whether they still would. Yeah, no, the bodies thing, it was just like they're kind of like scarecrows in that sort of scarecrow position. So I don't. Again, that could be, to do with trying to get people to sell she's a witch, whatever, etc. So, yeah, as I say, it's an interesting point in history. It's just absolutely mental, like what they would do and accuse people of being witches for. And obviously innocent people kind of died for that. So, yeah, it's I say Alan Cumming, obviously, I say, as I obviously mentioned, apparently he's going to have like a camp performance. But if you've seen Spy Kids, his villainous role in that, like he is a very wacky actor. Like, so it kind of makes sense. Like if that's the role that they're doing, like he's pretty much perfect for it.
Would you say he's probably the biggest guest star they've got this series? Because he's a big movie star. I mean,
yeah, I think you're probably right. I'd say definitely in the grand scheme of things of movie star, you've got like a few like well-known like British actors like Lee Mack and great British personalities, but I'd say internationally, yeah.
Yeah. Also, there's the shapeshifter one, not the shapeshifter one.
Yeah, the teleporter. Forgotten his name.
Yeah. That's super cool. Like, yeah, it was quite funny. I don't know if you guys remember, like he was on doing an interview about it and he accidentally leaked it, didn't he? And he didn't read. He was just talking about it quite casual. Yeah, so I'm playing James R for the first. Whatever.
Oh yes,
which is quite funny. So, yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. Again, I think the actress from Benidorm, like the clip she's in, she seems like a horrible sort of piece of work, kind of instigating it all, kind of like adding more fuel to the fire with certain things. So I'm interested to see how she plays out. But yeah, obviously that's going to be very, very interesting. So yeah, let's have a look at some final comments. Got Ace Creeper. He's got some eyes. I don't know what to suggest, but fair
Just
play.
that he's watching, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm watching. I'm watching you. Yeah, so I think that's it for the live stream, I believe. I think we've covered everything we needed to. So yeah, that was our review for both episodes. I felt like you guys probably more often, I think the general consensus that we've kind of more preferred Demons of the Punjab, but I think Kerblam was a good story, but not quite of that sort of like height of the other episodes of this series. But I really enjoyed it. I think a bit more. But yeah, so thank you everybody for watching the live stream. We enjoyed our thoughts and reviews. Huge thank you to Philip and Adam for joining me today. It's a real pleasure. Guests on, like, so that was really brilliant. So I hope you will enjoy obviously tonight's episode, which is on at 6:30, the Witchfinders. Again, it's probably one of the most anticipated episodes because we knew a lot. I think we knew quite a lot about it, seeing like behind the scenes stuff and sort of before the episode, sort of series, we knew what it was going to be about. So, yeah, have you got any thoughts, anyone, stuff about your channels or stuff like that? I know also, Philip, you've got your review pretty much. Is it tonight or will it be out tomorrow?
Yeah, I try and get it out the same night. It usually ends up about 11 o'clock or midnight by the time I eventually get it out. But yeah, I'll try and get in there. Try and get my review out by then.
Yeah, yeah. So check out Phil's review, either tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, so that is awesome stuff. Yeah, so I've got a few videos planned. I've got a season 19 trailer. I'm working on a 55th anniversary trailer as well. I want to do one for the 23rd, but I never got around to it. And yeah, so just general stuff like that. So yeah, so I think that's it. So thank you everybody for watching. Again, huge thank you to Flip and Anna for joining me. And we'll see you next week for our review of Witchfinders, which obviously we don't know our own thoughts on that yet. So that'll be an interesting one to see if it does live up to the hype or not. So yeah, I hope you have a good evening and enjoy the episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.